What is happening, friends of CCP Podcasting? I am Chris Page. That is Toddy Ramsey. This is Beyond the Bell Live. Toddy, how the hell are you?
I am okay. I had a very busy day today, and this is a nice change of pace. We're going to see how this particular Beyond the Bell goes. Um, as of right now, I'm indifferent about our guest. I'm neither on the left or on the right. I'm just right down the middle. So we'll see how this goes tonight.
It should be interesting, to say the very least, before we get to introducing our guest. Shout out to everybody in chat. See you, UK Paul. See you, Max. See you. I may have missed a couple there, but you guys are already starting. We've got an interesting show. This should be fun. It's going to be fun either way. Our guest today is the current reigning and defending House of Champions heavyweight champion of the world, Mr. Matthew Ennis. Welcome to Beyond the Bell Live, sir.
You're welcome that I'm here.
Oh,
Okay. Well, thank you,
okay.
sir. We appreciate your time.
Because I can already probably predict that your chat's probably already going off. And I can also already probably predict this is probably going to be one of the highest rated interviews you have just because people love to hate me and they're going to be talking shit the entire time. And I already know I'm doing you a favor. So you're welcome.
I'm glad you feel that way. How's your week been?
My week is fine.
Awesome. Toddy, did you welcome our guest today? You're wearing a shirt.
Yeah,
Welcome.
Toddy. Yeah, Toddy.
You're kissing ass
Yes,
Let's hear
already.
it, Toddy.
No, I figured I would extend an olive
Let's
branch.
talk about that shirt you got on, Toddy.
Yes, it's a nice shirt. It's a nice shirt. Um, Very easy to order. You can see that on the screen, and it gets there. You get notifications. Good quality shirt, and it's very comfortable. So I enjoy it. I enjoy it.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
But
know why? Because I'm
I'm
smart
sure you're going
enough
to tell me.
to make things as easy for simple-minded people like you as possible. Because the easier it is, the more your money goes into my bank account. And it's the best quality because even though you want to hate it and you want to try and talk crap, you got nothing but good service and you got nothing but a good quality shirt. Respect that.
violence achieved
I
already in the first
I am a
4 minutes.
professional. No one is more professional than I.
Why are you laughing at that then? If that's the case, I mean,
Because
I
Toddy is reminiscing on probably the failed career that Toddy had as an NCO in the military, which probably no one actually looked up to Toddy. They probably never called on Toddy and couldn't rely on Toddy for anything. But now Toddy gets to rewrite the story however Toddy wants to write it because no one
well,
can verify any of the stories now.
well,
mm,
mm.
well, you know what? I mean, that, to each their own.
How about how about this? How about we get to why we're here today? And our
Sure.
program is to chit chat with you, sir, about what you have accomplished in your career thus far.
You got 6 hours to be here because we'll be here a while.
I don't have that long, but let's get into it, man. Let's get into where things start for you. Everybody falls in love with professional wrestling, and while we may have not gotten off on the best of feet, if you will, no, guys, he's not Dr. Claw. He has a light on. Please be nice. Uh, how does things start for you? When did you first, kind of fall in love with professional wrestling?
Hey, stop. Huh. You know, you two could benefit from listening as well as these dogs listen.
Okay. So you don't fall
But
in love with professional wrestling. Got it.
outside of that, wrestling's been in my life, I'll say, since, let's say, 2001, 2000. Um, as we all know, I'm a very big dealer of violence. And so, who better to have made me fall in love with wrestling than Mr. Stone Cold Steve Austin himself?
Okay.
Watching him stomp a mud hole in people just gave me such a feeling as a kid. and then watching him beat up somebody that tried to bully him and oppress him and try to keep him down the entire time, aka Mr. Vince McMahon. That's what I wanted to do to kids at school every single day, is just stomp their faces into the concrete as much as possible. But of course, I was too small at the time to do that.
Well, I mean, come on now. At some point, we had you on a wrestling spotlight show, which we got to know a lot more about you in the confines of that conversation, and you weren't always this way, dude. So let's pretend for a minute that you can go back to a time where people didn't let you down, and when you actually enjoyed things. And at what that's we know at the point in time where your fraction, I guess, with people pleasing, I'll call it that, ends. What I'm
What's the
trying.
question?
I'm getting there. I'm just trying to figure out how I want to word it because I'm not trying to insult you in any way, shape, or form on this particular program.
For
Uh,
once?
I I told you I was coming into this very open-minded, and while you've been very disrespectful thus far, I have not, and I'm gonna try not to be disrespectful because I do feel like there's a lot to you, and there's positives and negatives, and I want to get to the root of it. Call me
Hmm.
crazy. In your early days of trying to get into professional wrestling, you said Stone Cold Steve Austin was a big influence for you. At what point in time did you start looking out for training facilities, and how does that look like for you?
I was in college 2012, 2013, maybe. Um, wasn't necessarily probably around the best people. Ended up making a mistake twice in my life. 2013, I ended up getting a DUI. Over 3 years later, 2016, I got another DUI. But we'll start with the first one. Um, Luckily, no one was hurt. Luckily, I didn't tear up the car too bad or anything. Just happened to hydroplane into a ditch, and not even like front end down like that. It was more of like, if this is the line of the ditch, I was literally just one set of tires over on each side. So it was pretty much like I parked in the ditch. Cops came, ran the plate, found me at my mom's house the next day. I was still super drunk, like 6 hours from then. So they ran this field sobriety test. Um, Obviously, I ended up getting a DUI. Actually, I'm only saying obvious because I was actually a month away from turning 21. And so I got the underage and the DUI. Lost my license for a year. Paid my dues money wise. Had to take a alcohol education class. I think that was about it. Oh, and I had to do some community service. And that during that time period, excuse me, the year later after I gotten my license and everything back was when I don't even remember what sparked it, but just started thinking about like, I want to be in the WWE one day. I want to wrestle. I think it's finally time to figure out where to go from here. And there was a gym that I actually ended up working at for 6 years, but the location at the time, near my house at the time, um, I was really close with the district manager, and I'd always bug him for a job. But because I was in college, stayed away, he would always tell me no because he's not going to hire me for me to only work a couple months at a time. So then I was chatting with him and talking about how I wanted to find a wrestling school because I had looked up online. I was like, how do you join the WWE? How do you become a pro wrestler? And, you read all types of things like find a pro wrestling school, know somebody that can get you in, do a tryout with WWE. But obviously, I had no connections, so neither one of those were going to work. So then I started searching for pro wrestling schools in North Carolina. And for whatever reason, every single website that I clicked on either had a number that was out of date and didn't work anymore, or the emails bounced back as no longer existing. So I was just like, okay, well, there's got to be something. So I started searching big name schools, and I found places like OVW, Booker T's Reality of Wrestling, a couple more that I had actually found. I just don't remember the names right now. And so I was just like, all right, well, I can't do those right now because I'd have to move and pay that tuition. So I'm gonna just start saving up now, and after college, I'll, make that transition as best I can. because I remember I had even emailed Nick Dinsmore, and he had responded to me and just said, "Hey, yeah, we'll be ready. We can try to hook you up with housing or something when you get ready. Just let us know." Um, and then I was talking to the manager actually that day and told him about it and everything. And that's when he had told me, he's like, one of my trainers does that pro wrestling stuff, right? And I was like, well, which one? Because I only see two here. And he's like, he doesn't work normally when you come in. He's like, but next time he's here, I'll let you know. And so I'm like, cool. Finish up my workout. I go home. I'm actually taking a nap. And he calls me and wakes me up. And he's like, yo, get to the gym right now. So put on my clothes. Well, I wasn't like, anyway, got dressed, went to the gym. Who do you think I'm talking to? I'm talking to the wrestler. Um, and yeah, ended up telling me about Ring Wars that was actually only 30 minutes away from my house at the time. And that's pretty much where it all started for me.
Okay. So when you decide to give it a shot, now you've got the lead. Ring Wars is the location. What's it look like for you when you decide to put pen to paper and take your first steps in?
Well, I think I had it better better than what I learn about wrestling schools now, because what I learn about a lot of wrestling schools is a lot of them operate of like it's a multi-thousand-dollar program. You pay a certain amount up front. You got to be paid by the time you finish, and it's like a 8-12 week course, which now that I know most schools operate like that, my personal opinion, I don't understand it. Because to me, that just makes you churn out more versus making sure they're all quality. But I digress. I don't own a school, so maybe I just don't know the ins and outs. But the way Ring Wars operated, I went there, I think on a Wednesday, because they have practice Wednesday nights and Sundays in the afternoon. So I went there on a Wednesday, and I was like, "Hey, yeah, Rymac was his name." He's like, told me to come introduce my, ooh, told me to come introduce myself to you guys. Nightstick Eddie Brown and Tony Hangtime James were both of my original trainers. And, they asked me questions, asked me why I wanted to get into it, this, that, and the fifth. They're like, "You got wrestling shoes?" And I was like, "No, but I'll order them ASAP." So, like, grab some wrestling shoes if you really want to do this. They're like, come on Sunday, 1 p.m., bring your wrestling shoes and bring $100. It's $100 a month, and that's it. And I was like, okay, cool. And again, I didn't have no frame of reference. I was like, okay, this is just how it works. Dues were always had to be paid first of the month or whatever, so you could train that month. And then my first practice was really a dive into the deep end, because no one smartened me up that in pro wrestling you shake everybody's hand when you arrive and when you leave. So I'm just this 21-year-old kid that's just super energetic and super happy to be living his dream. And I go in and I still said hey to people if they said hey to me. I didn't go out of my way to say hey to everybody, but went and sat down, put my shoes on, put my knee pads on, got in the ring, and I'm just ready to go. So then Hang Time looks at me and he's like, "Take your shirt off." And my brain's like, okay, maybe this is just a weird thing they do to wear, like, since you're going to be wrestling with no shirt on anyway, maybe you just do it in practice. I don't know. And he's like, "Pick a corner." And so I'm like, okay. So he's like, "Go stand in it." So then I go stand in it. And this happened to be a class where there was like 13, 15 people in that day. Lucky me, because as a punishment, so to speak, everybody got to come around and give me a left-handed chop, a right-handed chop, and an overhand chop. And then Hang Time himself, who had a reputation that he didn't want to get chopped by Hang Time, chopped the shit out of me 3 different times. And I'm just sitting there in the corner holding on for dear life, trying to breathe while everybody's going. And like, I'm wanting to cry. I'm wanting to like burst out. And he's just like, you got to get through all this. He's like, "You didn't want to shake people's hand when you come in, so there's a price." And I'm like, "I didn't know." And he's like, "Doesn't matter." He's like, "You're going to go through this." So I finally get through everybody, and I'm like, okay, cool. That must be the end of it. Then he tells me to sit down, spread my legs, and grab my thighs. So now everybody gets to come through and kick me in the back with their left leg, kick me with their right leg, and Tony himself gets to kick me a couple times. And then he looks at me after all the punishment's over, and he's like, "So what are you going to do when you come in from now on. I was like, shake everybody's hand. He's like, cool. He's like, let's practice.
Toddy, go ahead.
Talk about hit the ground running. So you had that hardcore style. I mean, compared to the schools where you are now, especially because we know HOC is completely different to where you were then. What are some of your main takeaways between the two different styles, and which kind draws you in more?
Well, considering everything that I've been through, I want to call most of these kids soft because it's nowhere near what I had to go through. And if I had to go through it, why shouldn't you? But I'll give credit where credit is due. At least what the Hawk does, they're very accepting of everybody that comes in. They're very uplifting of everybody that comes in. And even though I am their champion and I have a iron fist grip over the Hawk right now, even though they still want to boo me every single day, at the end of the day, when we go around, we do this thing where after practice, we go around and we each say one thing that we got 1% better at. Doesn't have to be wrestling related, doesn't have to be, it could literally just be, hey, I didn't snooze this morning and I got up when my alarm went off. That's 1% better because they're always big on getting 1% better every day. So for me and Ivy Mercer, when they get to us, they always say, ladies and gentlemen, you're Hawk Women's Champion. And then when they get to me, they say, ladies and gentlemen, you're HOC champion, and everybody boos me. So, regardless of that, and how much I want to punch all these kids in the face every single practice, I will admit that I can, from a psychological, analytical perspective, watch the difference that it makes for them and how fast people tend to move through the curriculum because they have that confidence and that support versus what I've seen in schools where that doesn't exist and or the drama ends up surrounding the school and you have all like the gossip, nitpicking this, nitpicking that, people playing their favorites. The environment of the HOC is something all professional wrestling schools can learn from.
I think that's 100% fact. I think everybody we've talked to from the HOC has not had a bad thing to say about them. Even though, some people may consider you
Except
being
that they
the,
disrespect their champion.
well, you said it. And, if that's the thing, that's the thing.
Is it not disrespectful to boo me every single practice?
Depends on the situation.
Depends. Okay. I wonder
I
if
mean, no,
Mr.
they're not going to bow down to your feet. If you think that's what's going to happen with anybody that walks in a room, then you're sadly mistaken. You know,
Todrick,
you've not
when
been the
you're when
most
you
endearing guy. When
Todrick can answer this one. Todrick, when your commander walked into the room, was there a
you're
certain
not a
level?
commander.
I'm steering this ship right now.
No,
Todrick,
no.
was there a certain level of respect that had to be shown
This
to the
guy.
commander, whether you like them or not as a person?
Yes,
So if we're thinking
yes.
about it from that perspective, could we not agree, even if you don't think the champion of the HOC is a commander, even though I can go on an entire tirade about why it is, but regardless, could we also agree that the champion of the HOC is probably a high enough ranking position that it deserves respect, whether you like the person or not? Yes
It
or
it
no, do fine. Yes or no, do fine. I'm not asking for an essay.
This fucking guy, Toddy. You don't have to deal with any of that. Let's talk
Yes
about.
or no, I'm not
Let's
asking for
talk
an
about.
essay.
Let's talk about Ring of Honor. Because
We're
that's
not we're not going to move on until I get this answer.
yes,
I
I
will
know.
yes,
keep.
yes,
Thank
yes,
you,
This
thank
yes.
you, Todrick. Smartest thing that's
this
come out of your mouth
guy.
all day.
Oh my
Woo.
god.
So therefore, to
This is
boo the commander in front of the commander's face, I get hemmed up for that. Article 15, extra duty, extra punishment. But these kids, because I have to be nice and I can't do to them what I want to do to them, think it's okay. Now we can move on to Ring of Honor.
okay. Well, let's talk about Ring of Honor since you gone on your soapbox. How does that come across your radar? And at what point, excuse me, what point in time in your career is that a thing?
So Ring of Honor came about. There was a seminar. I don't know if you remember the name Joey Mercury,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
but when Joey Mercury was still floating around, he came and did a seminar at Ring Wars. It was February, I believe, of I want to say 2018 because I was graduated from college and I was able to wrestle full time then. Um, and so he came in, did the seminar, and at the end, someone asked him if they could send him matches um, to critique, watch, or whatever. And he's like, "Well, I'm not just gonna watch your match for free." He's like, "Do you know how many people send me matches every single day?" He's like, "You can pay me for coaching, and then I'll watch it." And so I followed up with him on it, and I paid him for a coaching slot. And I don't remember. I think this was when I was doing my Flex Simmons gimmick at the time. Not yet the greatest physique in pro wrestling, but just very Jim Douche esque type of character. Um, and I sent Joey a match. He called me. We were talking about it. He's giving me his critiques. Hey, I do this. Why did you do this? I do it this way. Think about it this way and give me his feedback. And then at the end, he said, I'm going to be honest with you. He's like, I want to see more matches from you. And he's like, how old are you? And I said, I think I was 25 at the time. He's like, you're way better at 25 than you have the right to be. And so I'm always very skeptic again because people have said a lot of things in my life that they didn't actually mean. So my brain always goes, well, out of all the people you've probably seen, am I really? Are you just blowing smoke? But I'm also not going to complain about it either. So I took the compliment from him. And he said, send me in a month or so. I want to revisit this. Hey, stop. Stand by. Pearl, come here. Pearl, come here.
Only on a live show. Only on a
Pearl.
live show. Toddy, are you having fun?
Yes, maybe we can. No, we can actually talk about wrestling. No, I'm kidding. This is great. This is really good.
I think we'll get there.
I'm learning a lot. Hmm.
He's back. All right, welcome back.
It's not a live show. It's my show. And we operate how I want to operate.
Oh my goodness, this guy.
Now, where was I? Oh,
I
yeah.
have no idea.
So Joey Mercury said he wanted to see another match from me in about a month or two. And so actually at the time, I'm actually on some Army orders in Kentucky. And so I called him. This was like maybe, I think a month and a half later. So I call him. We're reviewing the match. And he asked me in kind of a shocked tone. He's like, how many matches have you had since the last time I talked to you? And I was like, I think this is maybe my second or third one. And he's like, you're way better than the last time I watched you. And I'm like, well, I just did what you told me because what else would I do? Right. Um, so he was like, okay. He's like, he was pretty much just very happy that I took the critiques and I applied it. And he was like, hey, he's like, I'm going to go ahead and be honest with you. He's like, we're getting ready to open up this new training dojo for Ring of Honor. Now, backstory too, I had no idea what Ring of Honor was. I didn't know there was life outside of WWE because all I had growing up was WWE. So when he said, but I didn't let him know that on that call. I was just like, I don't know what this is, but I'll find out. So he's telling me that later on in the year they're going to have a tryout for the first class of the Ring of Honor training dojo located in Baltimore, Maryland. And at that time, he told me he wanted to bring me in for free as one of the coaches' picks for a tryout. So probably best news of my life at that time, but that's how it came about.
Well, talk to me a little bit about the experience there. Obviously you get this tryout, you get this opportunity. What comes from it?
Well, imposter syndrome was one big thing because I knew that I had impressed Joey to a level that he saw something in me. But however, when I got there, I immediately was thrown in the deep end of, oh, like, do I really belong here? Because now I'm seeing people, if you know the names, Ken Dixon, Joe Keys, Khan and Moses. Khan is currently wrestling for AEW. Moses just wrestled on NWA. Brian Johnson, who used to go by number one Brian Johnson. Who else was in that tryout? Caitlin Diamond, if you know that name. I can't think of a lot of people off the top of my head. Oh, Primal Fear. I know you guys have shared
Yeah.
their stuff. They were there at that one. Jody Threat, who's currently with TNA, she was at that one. Those are the only ones really coming on the name right now, and there's probably more that I'm
Sure.
missing.
Sure.
So shout out to them. But yeah, so there's just a lot of people, a lot of guys from MCW, girls, and I'm just sitting there and I'm watching them go through drills, and I'm frozen like I don't know if I actually belong here because I knew I was good for where I was, but these guys were coming across as like, oh, they're good. And so I was like, well, I came in at least with the expectation of I'm not coming in expecting to get a contract or I'm not expecting anything. I'm just coming to learn. And I was like, that's just the attitude I'm going to keep at this point. Like, if I can just take things away that I can apply towards my own career, this weekend is a win for me either way. So luckily, I also, to kind of calm my anxiety a little bit, I had already kind of an in because Nightstick and Hang Time know a lot of people. So they told me, yeah, when you see Caprice, Coleman, Cheeseburger, I think there was one more, I think Kenny Lane, they're like, let them know Nightstick and Hang Time said what's up. So as soon as I told them that, they put a big smile, like, oh, you want a nightstick kid? You want hang times kids? Like, I know you're good people. So that obviously made things a little bit easier. But I think probably the most nerve wracking part of it was when we were doing promos one day and I cut a promo and I don't remember it being bad. I think it was decent, but there was definitely a lot of improvement, but I was nervous. And
Well,
I'll never forget,
it's got to be
what?
intimidating. It's got to be a little bit intimidating when you walk into
1000% it is.
a situation like that. You're in a fucking room full of people that you may or may not know at that point in time, and all of you are looking to do the same thing. So I think I could see that, and I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. I just I knew that knowing that level of intimidation that it could affect.
Don't interrupt me. Anyway, um, so Bubba Ray, who was a big part of Ring of Honor at the time, is one of the coaches coaching these promos, and he looks at me and he goes, "Are you nervous?" Yes, sir. Are you scared? Yes, sir. You feel like you're shaking a little bit? Yes, sir. He's like, "Do you want a job here?" Yes, sir. He's like, he threw a piece of paper on the ground. He's like, there's a contract right there. He's like, if I put a gun to your head and told you to go get that contract before I pull the trigger, are you going to do everything in your power to go get it? He's like, I was like, yes, sir. He's like, then fucking cut a promo like it. And it scared the absolute shit out of me. However, I ended up after everybody went, I asked if I could go again and ended up getting applause and praise for being night and day different. So it might have scared the shit out of me, but it definitely had its effects, and I credit the military for that because I'm used to being yelled at.
Well, what
But
came of the opportunity?
I was just about to get to that because you did ask that and I didn't answer. So at the end of the tryout, again, my expectations were low for myself. Like, hey, we learned a lot this weekend, made some connections. Definitely going to stay in touch with Joey because I was definitely going to keep sending him matches. So at the end, some of the coaches are meeting in a different room to make their picks or whatever. And at the time, I didn't really have a lot of money. Actually, the last bit of money that I had, I paid for a round trip bus ticket with no guarantees anything was going to happen. I literally walked into that weekend with zero money, and I just thankfully I had a good support system outside of that found out and took care of me. But I was just like, I'm not skipping out on this opportunity. I'm going to make something happen. And I booked that round trip with just like, I'm going to go up there, and if anything, I just won't eat as much over the weekend, and I'll find a place to sleep, right? Because when opportunity knocks, you go for it. So I have to get ready to get back to my bus. Otherwise, I'm going to miss that trip back to North Carolina. and I'm shaking hands with everybody. I can't find Joey because I at least wanted to tell him, like, hey man, like, thanks for everything, thank you for the opportunity. I'll be in touch. Can't find him, so I'm just like, he's probably busy. I'll just call him later. Then as I go ahead and start to walk away, I hear, hey, where's Flex? Where's Flex? And I'm like, I'm right here. And he's like, Joey wants to see you in the back. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That works out. So I go back there, and there's already three other people standing back there. He tells me and them to kind of hang out. We're waiting for more. And then finally, pretty much most of the names that I dropped of other students that were there um, were brought into that circle. And then Joey comes in and basically is just like, hey, congratulations. You guys are the first Ring of Honor Dojo class that we're bringing in. So good things came of it, obviously.
Toddy, go ahead.
I want to take a moment, and you talked about you were on orders, and I kind of want to explain that to everybody because that's a significant thing. I have a huge respect for Compo 2 and 3 Hour Reserve and National Guard component. I've been active duty for 24 years of my life, so it's practically all I've known outside of other things. But when I was with Department of the Army with Headquarters Child Defense Service, I traveled and I went to all the on-sites and things on the weekend because I was responsible for training the paralegals. Now, I say all that to say I had no idea what it means to go to work 5 days a week and then come on the weekend and you still have to be nice, you still have to perform, you still have to do all these things. And you guys are doing something different. I just have to stand on the platform and teach the whole weekend. And I was physically drained, right? Um, so I have a newfound respect for what you guys do, and I just kind of want our audience to understand he's working a regular job. He's still having to do all this travel, and if you have not traveled back to back, it can also be exhausting in addition to what you've done all week. And so these short burst trips, my hat is off to you because one, sometimes travel is a significant emotional event, and not to mention for us in the service, if something goes wrong, now we're not going to make it back on time. There's all these bells and whistles that have to be sounded, and you hope that your chain of command is understanding. And so I just wanted to put that in context for everybody so that you can understand exactly what it is he's going through in addition to being in this first Ring of Honor class. He has all these other things going on. So um, thank you for your service, one, and thank you for doing that because it takes a lot of work and effort to do both of the jobs that you do. Well, three of the jobs because you're also a trainer too. So thank you for that. Um, and if that spurns any questions in the chat, I'll make sure that I read that off. Um, so with all of that, what's going through your head? You've got all these jobs that you're going through. You're still in the military. You just said you were on orders, and now you're with the Ring of Honor dojo. Like, how is this all shaping up to you? Like, what are your thoughts? What's going on now? Because how is this going to affect your military career?
Well, first, before I really dive into that, how did that feel to let that out, Toddy? All that positivity you just gave me, deep inside it hurt, didn't it? You didn't want to say
Yes,
all that you did.
it
But
wasn't for
isn't
you.
there
It was for
isn't
the
there just
viewers.
something so freeing about finally accepting the truth? About accepting how great I am and why I deserve? Feel it, Toddy. Let it free. It'll be better for you. I'm still not gonna respect you back, but it'll make you feel better. And that means something. And that was proof of why your idiot chat members need to respect me a lot more because you even just gave more proof as to why I deserve it. But now, going back to your question, I
You
don't
walked
know.
you walked into that one, dude. I, that's point Ennis on that. Just calling it down the middle.
Silence.
It
To be a
wasn't for
hundred,
him. It was for them.
to be 100% honest with you, there's nothing really where I can say I had thoughts. My only thought was figure it out.
Yeah.
And a lot of things in my life have just been that, like I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I know everything in life is figure outable. And if there's a way to make sure it happens, number one, where there's somebody that was in a tighter or worse situation than I am that figured it out and made it happen. So that means that I can make it happen. And then number two, in our NCO creed, in the absence of orders, we will take appropriate action. So I'm going to take whatever action I need to do to make it get done. So once I got home from the tryout, my immediate thought was, okay, thinking long term, I've got to get to Baltimore, Maryland ASAP. And I'd already told the coaches like, hey, I'm shooting for a goal of January at minimum. This is at the time again. I didn't have my own car. I was graduating from college. I was mostly driving my mom's car. Shout out to her because even when I was home on uh, winter and summer breaks in college, so even that year that I lost my license, God rest in peace for her. That woman made sure I didn't miss a wrestling practice, a day of work, nothing. I was there every time. So I owe a lot to my mother. But yeah, it was just pretty much figure it out. So I knew at the time, I was like, okay, what do I need to get to Maryland? I need to line up a job. I need to line up a place to stay, and I need to be able to drive myself back and forth. So I need to get a car. So first one was the easiest. I went ahead and went and got me a 2018 Nissan Sentra at the time, so it was brand new. I basically just told them when they asked me what I was looking for, like, hey man, I'm going to be driving a lot. I need something that's really good on gas, and I need something that can, if I need to house other, not house, but if I need to pack in other wrestlers and their gear with me, it's at least got some type of space to it. So that ended up being what they recommended. And again, because I worked as a personal trainer, and personal training is sales related, and sales jobs are really always what I worked. One of the things that what I was always told is like, it's kind of stupid, but like, hey, go get something that's gonna force you to step up financially. So that was the car for me at the time. Like the payments, if you looked at it on paper, I couldn't afford that with what I was making. I wasn't making bad money at the gym because I was the fitness manager. So I was doing a lot of selling personal training while I was training. I wasn't making bad money, but just where I was at in life, I definitely couldn't afford the car that I had. Um, but I still have that car to this day. It's paid off, so it's amazing what happens when you take care of things. Ended up being a really great investment, so I got the car done, and then next thing was looking for a job and a place to live. Since I worked in a gym, I was like, shouldn't be too hard since I'm good at what I do, and I've got the backing of my managers who already know that I'm going to be making this move to get their approval and their recommendation. So ended up starting I lined up a job working as an assistant fitness manager for LA Fitness. So that's check marks number two. And then the final stage was I was just looking on Craigslist at the time because it was popular then. And Facebook, I think Marketplace was still a thing at the time. Ended up finding row home in Baltimore City, not too far from the harbor, with Steven and Holly, both in their mid to late 40s, early 50s. And they were just pretty much like, hey, man, like, oh, we don't really care what age of the roommate we get is. We just want somebody who's going to pay rent on time, not try to throw parties. Like, we're both working professionals. I was like, look, man, I was like, I'm just going to be working and traveling for wrestling. So, like, you ain't got none of that to worry about. And next thing you know, I've lined up a job, a place to stay, and I got my car. So come December, actually, I traveled up, and next thing I know, I'm living in Baltimore City, training 3 to 4 times a week at the dojo, and now that next journey started.
I like how that comes together. How long was your stay at the dojo?
December of 2018 until March of 2021. Um, COVID really screwed it up.
Yeah, I was about.
Um,
Yeah, when you said that time frame, that was exactly where I was going.
Mhm.
So go ahead. You're probably going to tell me what the effect
yeah.
that had.
COVID Yeah, when COVID came around, obviously a lot of people got furloughed. Ring of Honor did a really amazing job taking care of talent at the time. If you were keeping up with any of that, that's part of the reasons why they ended up having to like shut down for a little bit and kind of revise the way they want to do, because they just made sure, like, hey, we're going to pay people and we're going to make sure people can live and take care of their families. I wasn't signed or anything, so that didn't really apply to me. But as far as all of us dojo talent, like, we still got to come and help work because they created the Ring of Honor bubble, so that way they could still do TV tapings. So we still got to work the events. We did get paid for those. So we got to work ring crew for those. Obviously, students were chosen for to work angles, matches, stuff like that. I finally got my own Ring of Honor match that was told it would be televised, but it never made the light of day, unfortunately. But yeah, so I think it was actually maybe a month or so after COVID had started. They were just like, "Hey guys, like, yeah, like, we're gonna be shutting the dojo down until further notice. The goal is to reopen it." And then I think it was later on that year, late in the year, maybe when Ring of Honor decided to shut down, they were finally like, "Hey, yeah, we're not going to be reopening this," which made me start saying, like, okay, like, that was the whole reason I moved up, and this isn't where I want to live the rest of my life. So let's go back home. Um, my mom had unfortunately passed away in 2020, but the house she lived in at the time was my grandfather's. He left it to her and her siblings, and I was chatting with them about moving back down. They were like, "Well, why don't, until you end up either getting your own house or moving somewhere else, like, why don't we just sign the house over to you and you just take care of it and it's paid off?" So then I had a place to go with no rent.
So with every, and you know what, this is with every tragic story, because to me it's tragic that COVID happened and it kind of halted momentum,
Absolutely.
because now it makes you think like what would have happened if you lived in the mind frame of what if
Hmm.
what the trajectory would look like, what the whole aspect would look like. But the backside of that too is being taken care of when you come home, and you've got
Yeah.
to, like you the stress of what the fuck do I have to do now, right? Because your world just got fucked all the way up.
Hmm.
And when you get back to your roots and you get back to home, things start picking up for you in a pretty big way. Although, I mean, I want to go pivot, fast forward a little bit because HOC, you've just won your first. Is it your first world title? Let me not be presumptuous here. Is it your first world title with the
Well,
HOC?
it's my first championship at the Hawk.
At the Hawk. Well, okay. I know well, heavyweight championship. They don't consider it a world title. I think they consider it a heavyweight championship, right?
No, I think I'm a three-time RWC heavyweight
Okay.
champion.
Well, let's go there. Let's go to when you start racking up some championships. What's going through your head with RWF? First of all, uh, not to be ignorant, introduce me to RWF. What's the acronym?
RWC,
What RWC? What's the acronym?
Ring Wars
Oh, so
Carolina.
it's Ring Wars. Okay, see, I'm not good with acronyms, so I'm good with the names. But now, Ring Wars. So Ring Wars is where you end up landing. What's it look like for you when you get the opportunity to carry their top title for the first go around?
Well, the beautiful part about it is the way they did it was very at the time, because we talk about when I actually used to be someone that actually had a heart. It was a very emotional time because my trainers had this habit, and sometimes they still do, even though they run their own separate things now. Well, actually, Eddie retired from wrestling, and Tony has the 2-6 now, but they still have their own little thing they like to do of when it's finally time for you to win a championship. They don't like to tell you. They want it to be a surprise in the ring. Um, and so, little backstory: there's a referee, James Hunter, aka we call him Hunter Taker. Um, free anymore either. He spends a lot of time with his son now, which is not saying he wasn't before, but just he gets more time now because he's not refing as much. Um, my one of my first events at Ring Wars, my first year, I refed one of James's last matches, and he won what's called the No Limits Championship at the time at the match that I refed. And it was funny because they didn't tell me that James was winning either. And so I counted, but again, not knowing, I thought I screwed the match up. So in the moment, they're all looking at me like, "Was it a 3? Was it a 2?" And I was like, "Well, technically, I'm saying this in my head, not out loud. In my head, I'm like, well, technically I hit 3, so I'm like, it's 3, like new champ or whatever. And then he gets to the back, and they're all clapping and laughing and smiling. He's like, oh, you guys suck or whatever, and that made me feel better because I'm like, oh god, I'm new and I just screwed this thing up, but it ended up working out. So to bring that full circle back, um, oh god, who was I facing? I don't remember who I was facing, but it was me versus whoever I was facing. I want to say a guy named Chris Nemesis, maybe, for the RWC No Limits Championship, the same exact championship, and James Hunter is the referee. Same exact thing. I go for the pin. 1, 2, 3, and I'm sitting there at first like, what? Like, did I screw up? Did he forget to kick out? But then he comes up to me and he's like, thought I'd bring it back full circle for you, brother. And then it took everything in me not to cry. But now I'm working as a heel in front of the crowd, so I got to turn on my petty asshole smile and start laughing and basically berating people. But then as soon as I walk through the back, I'm just an emotional mess and everybody's clapping and laughing, and I'm just like, you guys suck. But it was a good thing. So that's when it all started. Um, every time I won the RWC Heavyweight Championship, there was always some extra tomfoolery, as there tends to always be, because they didn't want me to maintain it. Both times, all 3 times, are actually with my arch nemesis, former best friend Jim Stone, who, if you're watching this, Jim, remember I got you into pro wrestling. Never forget that. Um, and so all 3 times, I win the championship and lose the championship in the same night because he had some type of opportunity that he won where it's almost like a money in the bank type cash in type deal and stole the title from me every time. You're muted, pal.
My apologies. He's your kryptonite then when it comes to
Nah,
holding
he's
that.
not. He's not my kryptonite. I beat him in FWE multiple times. He's not my kryptonite.
Okay. Toddy, go ahead.
Uh, sorry. All right. So,
I got your tongue, Toddy.
no, I was trying to be nice, but you're sorely testing the limits of my patience, and that's not an easy feat. But we're gonna keep going. All right. So you had the championship there. Obviously, you had a good run. What was next for you? Because you
Well,
do have a lot of accolades.
if you consider one night a good run, they got it. Rico was robbed apparently every
Every
opportunity.
single time. Every single time. And whoa, 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 whoa! It's not just one night that I've had championships. Okay, no
No, no, no,
limits
no, 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 no,
champion.
no, 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 no. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm referring to at all. That's not what I'm insinuating. I'm saying in this situation with this championship, every run was cut in one night. That's it. That's all I'm
I'll
saying.
allow it.
No,
I'll allow it.
that's it. That's
Say,
you've
I'll give you
had
props for
runs.
clarifying.
You've had. I mean, look right now. You've got the HOC championship. You're heading into your second month with that. You've got another championship that you've held for God knows how long. Was it the light heavyweight championship? Is it in ring
FWE
force?
Light Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah, FW. So and you've had that for a fucking minute. So we're not questioning that. In this situation, he got it. It seems like when it comes to the major championship, he got robbed essentially
Yep.
every step of the way. And
Yep.
and I'm sorry, Toddy. Didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No,
Just like
no.
just like I'm pretty sure that little punk Max Danziger wants to try and rob me, but I promise you, Max, if you try to cash in that briefcase, the only thing that's going to get robbed is your career to drum in front of these fans and perform in front of them anymore. Because I'm going to break your freaking arm. Anyway, continue.
Go ahead, Toddy.
Hmm. Now I see why they cashed in on you after you got the championship. I understand a lot better now. All right.
Can you actually
So
get to the point and take out the fluff, Toddy?
I've just begun. All right. So what's next for you? You have these 3 championships. What's next on the radar for you? Where do you move in this career path?
As far as right now, or the timeline for Ring Wars?
So
You weren't you weren't
when you
specific,
left.
and I know your brain is working overtime right now.
Just to clarify, you did say you were military intelligence, right?
Yes, And I'm going off the context of the question you asked me, which did not ask a specific timeline.
So if we were just talking about your time in Ring Wars and I say what's next, that would obviously say what's next
But usually,
after
when
Ring
people say
Wars.
what's next, they're also referring to current timelines, which is why if you always specify what you mean, then we know exactly what you mean. That's effective communication, Toddy.
Okay. I'm gonna
The
help you out
the
then. What's
the
next after Ring Wars?
the intel analyst is supposed to never assume but confirm, which is what I did. So I did my job.
If you say so.
Okay, I'm
And
gonna.
What's
No,
next
I've got.
after Ring Wars?
what?
What's next after Ring Wars?
Ring Wars would dangle for a while. It ended up being one of those I'd always come back to. But then finally, uh, just like any good thing, when you realize that you've spent enough time somewhere and not in the way this probably sounds, but actually, no, yes, the way this sounds. When you become the big fish in the small pond and a place doesn't bring you any value anymore, you've got to go to a bigger pond. And so, luckily for me, in a time of a lot of self doubt, actually, and wondering what's next for me because it felt like I was spending more time teaching new trainees how to roll and bump more than I was actually wrestling people better than me, getting better myself and taking myself to that next level. Cue Kakoa letting me know that the House of Champions is about to open and that he's going to be the head coach. And knowing Kakoa's resume, knowing that Jamie and Renee are going to be the owners of it, knowing Nick's, or excuse me, not Nick, Jamie's resume, and eventually now knowing that Bobby Fish is one of the coaches, even though I didn't know it then, it's kind of a clear cut understanding of like, okay, this is my next step. And that turned out to end up being one of the best decisions I ever made because now look at me. I am the top man. I am the HOC Heavyweight Champion. I'm on one of the greatest runs of my career, and I'm actually commanding that people are going to start respecting me, and they're starting to see because when someone's standing across from me from the ring from now on, they don't look at me as if I'm a good enough option. This is the guy that they put in front of me. They don't look at me and say, "Oh, I can not take this guy seriously and I'll be fine." No, now I see that look of fear in their eyes, that slight little twinkle that's like, if I give this guy one opening, he's going to pummel my face in. And that is the reaction I should have had the entire time. This is the side of me that should have came out a long time ago, but I was afraid to hurt people's feelings. I was afraid to put myself first, and I was afraid to take what I knew I deserved all along. And so you ask what's next? Next is now the best years of my career, Toddy. What's after Ring Wars is I'm putting into the past things that don't serve me anymore, and I'm moving on to bigger and better things, such as being your HOC champion, being your FWE light heavyweight champion, and every single promotion that I go into, striking the fear of Matthew Ennis into every single person's mind.
Well, let me ask you this: who do you see stepping up at the HOC to try and take that championship away from
Well, we've already got the low hanging fruit, Max Danziger, because there's already expectation. When's he going to cash it in? And I shouldn't have been as hesitant I was to fight him, but there was also the police at the venue, and I can't really defend a championship if I'm in jail now, can I? So I held a little bit of restraint and I let Max perform his little band with his little band that night. Even though that little jerk, the disrespect for Max Danziger to get my vehicle towed before I leave the venue that night. The disrespect. Yes, my vehicle got towed. I walked back to the parking lot that I parked in and my car was gone. And I had to fork out $400 to get my car back.
you? Well, at least it was
So
paid
yeah,
for.
Max,
At least it was paid for.
how does that help me with it being towed?
Well, you just had to pay to get it out. You don't have to pay. It was paid for.
Even if I owed money on it, I'd still only pay to get it out. Are you that dumb?
No, I'm not. I just thought it was kind of funny that at least it was paid for. At least you didn't have to fret to get it out. It was there for you, bud. Hey, he towed your car. That's
You spend a
And
lot
you
of time. You spend a lot of time pushing on doors that say pull, don't you, Chris?
no, sir. I do not. I just have
I,
fun and play the
I
hands that I'm
disagree with
dealt.
that.
Well, you're entitled to your opinion, and
Anyway,
I'm
so
okay with
Max
that.
is probably going to be his little sneaky conniving self, and he's probably going to try and cash in that briefcase. It's not going to work because I don't care if I've just wrestled a 60-minute Ironman match. I don't care if I just had to jump off 20 ladders to inflict harm on the people. I don't care what I have to go through before he tries to cash that in. I'm going to pummel Max's face in if he tries to cash it in, and I'm going to break his arm. And then he can't wrestle, and then he can't drum. There he goes. He doesn't have any money. He's going to be homeless. So I win in the end. Max is probably going to step up, so that's number one. As much as I really don't understand why he would try, he's already almost had his leg broken twice. But Mr. Mo Malik, he's everybody for whatever reason loves that guy,
Because he's a
and
nice
I
guy.
know I know, but being nice isn't what wrestling's about. I know you know this of
I
all people. Like, you've got to be tough, you've got to be aggressive, you've got to be gritty, you've got to be ready to grind somebody's face into the canvas.
I've been there.
Nice doesn't get any of that. And Mo is not that guy. Mo, go sit behind a desk or something at the VA office. This isn't for you. And if you try to step up to me, it's going to end even worse than it already has before.
Not gonna lie, that was a good fucking line. Go ahead.
You're welcome. Everything about me is good. And the more we keep having these interviews and the more you keep putting out my content, the more you and your followers continue to see that. Baracco, I know he's itching at it. He had the championship at one point. He's always going to be a threat. I like Baracco. I do actually. I don't like many people in wrestling anymore. Baracco and I actually got to go to
I was, I was,
Illinois,
I was just about to
and
say that.
we got to beat up on some people. We got to. Matter of fact, I remember telling the entire crowd that if all of them smiled at one time, they'd finally have one full set of teeth. That's how inbred they were.
I mean, you're always endearing yourself, brother. Always
It
endearing.
was so much fun. It was so much fun. So yeah, I know I do like Baracco, but I do not discredit. He's a massive man. Obviously, he's strong and he's very powerful, so that's a force to be reckoned in the ring. So it's one of those keep your friends close, your enemies closer type deals. Who else is there? Is there anybody important? As much as I don't want to say it, somewhere I just got this feeling. Somewhere Kakoa is going to try to insert himself. Jamie Stanley's going to try to insert himself. And the metal, Armando Espana, is going to try to make some miraculous comeback. And he's going to try to make a statement by taking the HOC championship off me. And he's going to be right back in rehab. So those are the names that I feel like are the most threatening right now. If I didn't mention you, it's probably because you're not that important.
Who do you want first? Because you're
I
not a
don't
hard
care who.
you're not a hard man to find.
No, I'm at the HOC every single training session. So I'm not hard to find. They can challenge me during practice if they want. It's going to end the same exact way. So I don't care who comes first. I don't want any of them, but I know I'm going to have to.
Toddy, do you want to try this again?
so I just so let me get this straight because I think you're counting out a person that you shouldn't, who has a lot of motivation to really come after you in that championship. GMJ put in a lot of work to get there, and you were
No.
inserted into that championship match that was supposed to be him and BBP. And I think it's a mistake personally to just count him out because he is an assassin on the mic and off the mic, and we've seen what he can do. I Why do you discredit him as not seeing him as a potential threat?
Name 3 promotions you've seen GMJ wrestle for outside of the Hawk.
I'm talking about his performance in the Hawk. I'm
No, no,
not
no.
talking about outside of
It's
it.
important. No, no. It's important to your answer. Name 3 promotions you've seen GMJ in outside of the Hawk.
I'm not going down that road with you. I'm talking about in the Hawk
No, 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 no.
specifically.
If you want my answer, you have to answer this question. You haven't seen him in a promotion outside the Hawk, have you? Yes or no?
That doesn't mean he's not lethal.
It does. Because I'm going to tell you why. George is comfortable. George is happy being the quote unquote super athletic, charismatic, handsome kid at the Hawk that's outstanding above all the other kids. He's not obviously outstanding above the champ because the champ is the top spot. But George doesn't have the experience. If you took a young private that had been in the army and had done 6 tours overseas versus the young no ranker insignia private just joined the military fresh out of basic training, you took them both overseas, which one do you want in your foxhole? You want the
Mm.
more experienced one, right? Because you're going to try and dance around the question, so I'll answer it for you. You want the combat veteran. You want the grizzled guy that's not going to think twice about shooting somebody in the face because he know what has to be done. George is not that guy. George is comfortable in the Hawk. George is, I'm not even going to take away from how much of a threat George can be at the Hawk because George is insanely athletic. He's strong, he's powerful, he's explosive, he's very charismatic. Oh, all in all, he's your complete package. And I'm not going to deny that. Guy's one of the fastest people I've ever watched in my life. And I've watched Mojo Rawley run the ropes, and I guarantee you that George is probably faster than he is. But George doesn't have that experience. I am that combat veteran. I've been in the battlefield of the pro wrestling ring and the trenches of warfare for over 10 years on both sides. So trust me when I say that regardless of the caliber that George, GMJ, whatever we're calling him is, I have experienced way worse and way higher of a caliber. And that's what makes me so dangerous to fight GMJ. GMJ is going to rest on what he's comfortable with, and I thrive on not being comfortable. I thrive in chaos. So it doesn't matter what he can think to spring, I've got the experience tenfold. So, no, I'm not worried about GMJ. I respect the threat that he could be if he'd tap in and go seek out more challenging battles. But as far as while we're at the HOC, while I hold that championship, George will never, ever get a 1, 2, 3 on me.
Well, let's talk about this for just a second. We'll start circling around to wind this down. I always like to ask guys, and I hope that you know, to give me an answer, great. If you don't, at least I tried. The beautiful thing about what our
Sorry.
platform does is shine a light on independent wrestling all over the world. We're on every continent. We've made a lot of friends along the way. We've made a lot of acquaintances and continue to build relationships. That is not possible unless I ask this question: who should we be watching? And what I mean by that, you've you've been traveling, you've been around, you've got history,
Mhm.
you know hidden gems that are scattered throughout. Again, I said this the other day on a Beyond the Bell Live. I've recently discovered some in my own backyard. That's you guys at the Hawk. That's you guys. Who should we
Mhm.
be watching according to Matthew Ennis?
Everybody that you should be watching, also, you should be getting on this podcast ASAP because I know I'm bringing you ratings. So the fact that my referrals will bring you ratings is only guaranteed. I've already tagged a bunch of them in that post that you made about who we wanted to see. You've already booked one,
Mm-hmm.
True Grit Alex Bryant, who I also will be facing in August for the FWE Light Heavyweight Championship.
Oh,
Alex started Alex started as a ring announcer for Ring Wars Carolina and told us he would eventually wanted to be a trainer. So I had a hand in helping to shape him. So newsflash, Alex, I might have taught you everything you know, but I didn't teach you everything that I know. And that championship is staying with me. True Grit, Alex Bryant, Jim Stone. As much as I do not want to say that, you can't deny how big he is, how strong he is, his presence in the ring. His partner, G Money, they form a tag team called XLG, but they're also a threat to be reckoned with in singles competition as well. Xander Keys, we've already talked about. You should definitely continue to watch all of the Hawk because they're just going to keep churning out stars. I had a whole list in my head before you ended your question. Amanda Kiss, she's currently making waves on the independent scene. She also started at Ring Wars Carolina, so I've gotten to get to know her personally. Audrey Allen, who also started at Ring Wars Carolina, which is how I met them. Of course, everybody goes out of my head when I need to tell them. O'Shea Edwards, which I'm pretty sure you probably know about
Mm-hmm.
him, but he's still one to keep an eye on. Ken Dixon, Joe Keys, anybody on the MCW roster. They turn out stars and have been for years, and it's just a place that nobody can deny the greatness of the training. Even going to give a shout out to one of my old Ring of Honor dojo coaches who helps there, Will Ferrara, if you remember that name.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely keep an eye on him because now he's back on the scene, and I know he's going to make magic wherever he goes. TIM, Tim, if you know who that is. Um, that's all that's coming to mind right now. Drew Hood. Yeah, that's all that's coming to
Okay.
mind right now.
All right. So there are definitely some names that we have not heard. And the reason, again, we ask that is we take those names, we put them on our internal sheets, and once we start looking them up, we're going to start watching their stuff. It's how our platform continues to grow. It's been a grassroots thing since day one. Toddy,
Mm-hmm.
let me come down to you.
I thought you were going to ask the second question.
I
My
am.
bad.
I am after you. I was going to give you the opportunity to ask another question, and then I was going to come back around to it.
Um, well, I don't really have any additional questions, but I usually do say this. Love you or hate you, your career is undeniable. The things that you have been through that a lot of people would not be able to make it through says a lot about who you are as a person, as a soldier, as a wrestler, and it's commendable. And I know that it's only going to continue as you continue forward in this life. So I do appreciate everything that you do for this business and everything that you do in life. I definitely see what you're doing on social media with the personal training. You're changing people's lives. It's rewarding to see people who are constantly saying, I didn't want to do this today, but I did it. And they're so proud to share that, not just with you, but to share it with the world. And that is something um, that not everybody can do. So you definitely have your way of motivating people and changing their lives for the better, the same way that you did for yourself. So that's commendable. And again, thank you for your service and everything that you do, because I know it is not easy maintaining all of the jobs that you have and really still trying to maintain a personal life outside of all of that. So hats off to you.
Toddy, Toddy,
Oh my
Toddy.
God. Why? Such a
Toddy.
Spintress.
I just want you to know I'm gonna screen grab that when you guys produce this, and every time I take a shit, I'm gonna play it as the shit's going down the toilet to remind
You
myself of you.
you do that.
I have to screen grab it, dude. I'll clip it and send it to you. Don't worry about it. I got it. Don't worry about
Yeah, I forgot I got bitches to do my work for me.
it. Oh man, now you can do it yourself now. At the end of the day, everybody's got. Maybe you don't. Fuck, man, I don't know with you.
Hi.
I've kept it pretty civil. Uh, who are some matches to people that you want to get in the ring with?
I don't really have like a set list or whatever. I'm pretty much a anytime, everywhere, anywhere. If somebody wants to make something happen, book me, get us paid, and let's make it happen. But if I had to give you some names of people that I would love to see before I hang it up, before they hang it up, I want to fight Sheamus at some point in my career. I want to fight Gunn, and those two come to mind hard hitting and violent of people they are. And I just know that this is going to be one of those tests where I like being violent myself. And it's going to be a true test of can I handle violence I never even knew existed? Because you watch their products all the time. They're gritty. They're going to get in there. They're going to hit you hard. and I want to feel it. That's the only thing that really makes me feel alive anymore is when I'm being violent. So bring me back to life, fellas.
Well, Mr. Ennis, this has been a very interesting conversation. I feel like I've learned a little bit about you that I did not know before, and some of it makes sense.
You'll keep learning more. Don't worry.
What's that?
I said you'll keep learning more. Don't worry. Ain't that right, Toddy?
Mm-mm.
Mr. Ennis, what would you like to say to the people before we close things out?
To your chat, fuck you. I don't respect any of you, and I hope you're in there making a scene, making a fuss like the little children you are.
Oh,
And if you're not
they've actually been well behaved.
chat, I still don't respect you as a first time for everything. They're probably being the good dogs that they are, actually sitting down for once. If you're not in the chat, I still don't respect you because there's a lot of debt that I'm owed in respect.
His internet fucked up again.
To where you can't look at me and say anything but like I have to respect this guy, or more likely theory, you probably sabotaged me again because I insulted your chat and they probably complained.
I did not, and I'm not even gonna get
I'll keep
into
it
it.
simple then, because I'm not gonna repeat all of that.
I don't
Long
understand.
story short, if you're watching and you're not part of their little inbred chat waiting in mom's basement, you're gonna keep watching my success, and you're gonna have no choice but to respect it. Because from now on, respect isn't earned; it's forced.
Gotcha. Perfect. That is the current HOC champion. And, what is it? Light heavyweight champion. I can't remember the acronym.
The the only champion there's gonna be from now on at the HOC. There's not gonna be anybody else.
This is Mr. Matthew Ennis. This has been Beyond the Bell Live. For Mr. Taj Tabar Ramsey, I am Chris Page. For everyone who has hung out and for all of you in chat, we appreciate you stopping by. Maybe not him, and that's his
I
prerogative as
don't.
well. If you're still here, I suggest you hang out for about 15, 20 minutes. I'll be back on with our buddy Ishmael for a wrestling spotlight. I'm Chris Page, Todrick Ramsey from Matthew Ennis. We'll see you next time.